All right, all right, all right, fire them up!
Oh, yeah. Leave it to Amazon Prime to have probably one of the best documentaries we've had in quite a long time, and to do almost no advertising for it whatsoever. You know, it's been 31 years since John Candy passed away, and I remember quite clearly that when I was younger, it bothered me. I think he's probably one of the very few, and I mean very few, celebrity deaths where I felt it and I basically took it personally. You know, I'm not a real weepy person over celebrities because I don't know these people, but I remember being very attached to John Candy in the same way I was attached to James Belushi and Chris Farley and a handful of other comedians, especially like Richard Pryor and even George Carlin. I just found their brand of comedy and their acting and how they perceived life and how they went about things. I've felt it within myself. They all kind of reminded me of my father in some way. So when John Candy passed away, like I said, I basically took it personally. It hit me very hard. And now, all these years later, we have a documentary that talks about his life, not just his life in on the screen, in movies and in the TV shows that he would appear in, but also about his personal life and everything that he used to deal with behind the scenes, like his anxiety, which is a big thing now. People talking about anxiety and mental health, how his the death of his father at a very early age really affected him, and how could that not? I know what that's like. I've lost my father when I was in my early and mid 20s, and it has had a profound effect on me ever since. The title of the documentary, I Like Me, comes from his absolutely fantastic film and from one of the scenes in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And it's probably his most visible movie, even though it's not my absolute favorite. My absolute favorite of just him would probably be Uncle Buck, but I also gravitate very heavily toward his role as Barf in Spaceballs. Just absolutely funny guy. Again, it was very personal when he passed away because I liked how he dealt with comedy. And in watching this documentary, you get to understand that a lot of who he is personally informed how he portrayed his characters. And most of his characters are deeply flawed and deeply emotional people. And I absolutely love that about how he plays his characters. And you really don't get that in a lot of actors nowadays. And you have to absolutely love in this documentary all of the testimonials about who he was as a person and as an actor. People like Eugene Levy and Macaulay Culkin, who is actually a very big part of who he was behind the scenes. Macaulay Culkin talks about how he had a basically terrible home life with his father and with his family, and John Candy took it upon himself to call him and say, "Hey kid, how you doing? How you feeling?" And I think that comes from the fact that he lost his father so early, and he saw himself in Macaulay Culkin and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to, extend myself to look out for this kid." And we don't really hear that about people within Hollywood, and when we do hear it, it is a big deal because not so many people are like that, not even in Hollywood or out of Hollywood. Other testimonials come from people like Conan O'Brien, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, absolute legends in comedy throughout John Candy's career and through his personal life, especially somebody like Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, who were in movies and actually worked with him behind the scenes, helping actually writing for other people as well. Now, the main focus for this documentary is not so much his career, even though it is a big part of it. But for me, the focus is really on who he was as a person. And honestly, watching this documentary, it is true what they say about him that we've known for quite a few years, but nobody really talks about anymore, is that he was just genuinely a good person. And like I said, you don't really get that in Hollywood, where somebody has passed on and somebody tells stories and is like, "Hey, it wasn't about his acting. He was a good person. He brought something on the set that put everybody at ease and made everybody feel better." And all in all, quite honestly, watching this documentary, it's the eulogy I think so many of his fans needed that they didn't know that they needed. And it's just one of those documentaries that you'll watch about a person or about a moment in time, and that it'll stick with you, I guarantee you, after you watch it. This documentary is well done outside of just the testimonials, but it's just a really good documentary, and got to give it up to Colin Hanks for putting it together the way he did. I'm really surprised that Amazon Prime did not do even more advertising for this, like I said from the jump, because John Candy was such a huge face in Hollywood up until his death. So many people still talk about him, as you can see in the documentary, from all the testimonials and all the stories that are told about him. And I'm glad that they actually did this so that newer generation, people who never got to see anything from him, who know nothing about Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, all the movies he's been in, it's good to see that another generation will get to know who he was as an actor and now as a person. It's a really good documentary, and it's really easy for me to say that this is a 10 out of 10. This is the first time I've actually given a 10 out of 10 to anything we've reviewed, period. I've come close with 9s and 9.5, but this is a 10 out of 10. John Candy was a legend when it comes to comedy or just being in Hollywood, period. Not just in comedy, but he was that funny. He was that good of a person. And I'm very glad that another generation, people who have never seen anything from him or know nothing about him, they'll get to see what he was as an actor and as a person. But that's just my opinion on John Candy's I Like Me. I want to know if you've seen it or if you're going to watch it. And honestly, I think everybody should watch it. If you know nothing of John Candy, this is one of those things that you need to watch. And if you haven't seen it, please watch Uncle Buck or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Both of those two movies specifically show you just how good of an actor he actually is and how funny he can actually be, especially Uncle Buck, because I love how his character in that one is just so deeply flawed and is so afraid of everything. It's honestly, if you're a millennial, you need to see Uncle Buck because he is us. And after you watch the movie, you will understand completely. And maybe we'll do a review on it in our retro reviews that's coming up. That's it for now, and I'll catch you in the next video. God bless. I love you and peace. See you next time.